Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dami for those that are new here, and here we talk about all the latest in the business world. But today I have something a little bit different. So I'm going to be talking all the things that I've been enjoying in this year. So all the YouTube channels, podcasts, the books that I've read that I can easily recommend to you guys. I thought that would be really interesting. So here we are with the video. Click the like button, subscribe, do all those nice things. But without further ado, I'll just dive right in. So the first thing that I'm going to be talking about today are the books that I've enjoyed in this year. So one of the books that I've really enjoyed in this year, but before then, I think it's really important to let you guys know a little bit more about me. So generally, I don't like conversational podcasts. I don't really like things where they're talking about what they ate last night. I like things that are well thought about, well structured, and things that you can learn a lot from. So those are the kind of content that I really enjoy. So I thought to lay that out there before I go in. So the first book that I've really enjoyed in this year that I can easily recommend to you guys is The Business Secrets from the Bible by Rabbi Daniel Lapin. I don't think I can ever forget that book. That book is so underrated and it's such a good book. I've learned so much from it. My husband has learned so much from it. And I can also say with my chest that that book is really easy to listen to. So it's not something that you have to have like 10 million dictionaries right in front of you to listen to and understand. It's very easy to listen to. It's not like heavy. It's just stuff that you can learn from and stuff that you can actually apply in your everyday. So yeah, I feel like you guys should go ahead and buy that book. It's been a blessing to me. Immediately I read it, I told my husband to read it, and it's not something you just read once and put on the side. It's something that I read again and again. It's just such a well thought of and well structured, it's easy to understand as well. So I'll easily recommend that book to you guys. So the next book that I can easily recommend to you guys that I've read this year is British. So British by Afua Hirsch, and that book, you guys, is heavy. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that book is really heavy, but there's so much that you can learn from it. So the book was basically written by a mixed race girl, and she just got a little bit more curious about her black side, and she spent most of her life researching slavery, all those kind of things, you know, her background, and because she's from Ghana, so Ashanti region and all the other region of the different parts in Africa. It's just a well-written book, and there's so much to learn from that book. So that's another book that I can easily recommend to you guys. I feel like it's one of those books that you just need to read once in your life. It's a really good book. I don't think I have any much more to say. It's just a really good book. So the next thing that I'll be recommending to you guys today is podcasts. So I'm going to let you guys know on a few podcasts that I've really enjoyed in this year. One of the podcasts that I've really enjoyed in this year is To My Sister's Podcast. So that podcast, you guys, is heavy. So that podcast is heavy. It's not something that you can just keep listening to and binge listen to. It's something that would cause you to just pause and think and really analyze yourself. So this podcast comes with so much self-awareness. It comes with so much thought that has gone into it. You can see that they did a little bit of research. It's not just come on here and just talk randomly. It's a really good podcast. They talk about different topics to do with discipline, personal development, and things like that. So I can easily recommend that podcast to you guys. I think you'd really enjoy it. So another podcast that I can easily recommend to you guys is the Toyotax Podcast. So this podcast is by a black girl. The other podcast I talked to you about as well is by a black girl. They live in London, so yeah. So it's by a black girl and they're in the business world. So she's talking about her experiences. You guys, just get that podcast, go on and listen to it. I'm sure you'd really enjoy it. So she just talks about the business world, how to navigate, how to, things to think of and things like that. So I really enjoy that content. I think you guys would too. So the next podcast that I'll be recommending to you guys in this video is the Recalibrate Podcast. So this podcast is by a really young girl, and it's like about serious things like faith. There's so many things that you get to learn from that podcast, how to discover purpose, just so many things about faith, about the Christian faith. So there's so much you can learn from that particular podcast. So I can easily recommend that to you guys. So most of these podcasts are also on YouTube. So you can just open a new tab and search for it. And I'm sure you'd really enjoy these recommendations that I am giving to you. So the next podcast that I've really enjoyed in this year is the Diary of a CEO. So this podcast is by a CEO and is just talking about his diary, things that he's gone through in his journey. So he also invites people that are CEO already as well. So he invites them in and they just have conversations, and it's just really interesting to see the journey that people go through to becoming successful. I just feel like it's one of those things that forces you to go out and want to create something amazing for yourself. So that's why I really enjoy that podcast. So the CEO of Moonpig was there, as well as so many other CEOs. They talk about their journeys as well as their drive and everything like that, everything it took them to succeed. So some were from a rich background, some were from a not so rich background. It just shows the story of different people from different background and how they became successful. So I really enjoyed that podcast, so I can easily recommend that podcast to you guys. It's really important to let you know that it's not a easy podcast to listen to. It can be really heavy. It's one of those things again that you don't really binge watch on it. You have to sit down and really take in what you've learned and really reflect and see how you can actually apply it in your lives. It's not just like a conversation kind of podcast. You get to sit down and really take it in, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm just going to move on to the last podcast that I would be recommending to you guys, and it's Financial Times. You guys, that podcast is like 10 minutes long and they talk about all the latest again in the finance world. It's very easy to listen to and I think you would enjoy that. If you enjoy this platform, you would definitely enjoy that podcast. So the last thing that I will be recommending to you guys is a YouTube channel that I've really binged watched in this year. And drum roll, Parliament Live. I'm sure some of you are like, Parliament Live. I've really enjoyed watching that in this year. It's quite serious because they're MPs, so they're members of parliament. So they're basically calling the government to account and they're lobbying the government for what they want for their constituents. So it's not so easy to listen to, but you learn a lot. You learn a lot as to how people think and how people get to say the same thing again to the government to make sure that they back what they want the government to do for their constituents in their area. So it's really interesting to see how they argue, but professionally. It's really interesting to see how they begin to get angry and you can hear their voices go up as they're speaking and they're like, do. Their voices are going up, but they're not fighting, they're not aggressive, but it's just really interesting. And I've really enjoyed watching Parliament Live on YouTube today, as well as so many other things, but that's one of the things that I can easily recommend to you guys, and I feel like it would help to build a really strong mindset, strong vocabulary, and it's just really interesting to me anyway. So yeah, those are my recommendations. If you have any recommendations for me for YouTube videos, podcasts, books, let me know in the comment section below and recommend my platform where you can, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you. Take care. Bye.